ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਮੂਹ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਦੀ ਲੱਖ ਲੱਖ ਵਧਾਈ ਹੋਵੇ Vaisakhi 1699 was the most dramatic and unique event in human civilization. Sikhs all over the world celebrate this momentous and historic day, a day that marked the beginning of the Khalsa with a tremendous amount of happiness and festivity. But to truly understand the significance of Vaisakhi, we need to go back to 1699. The late 17th century was an extremely turbulent time in Indian history. It was a time of considerable oppression, bigotry, and hatred under the brutal rule of the Mughal Empire. The rights of the common man were trampled on. The price of life was cheap, and there was misery everywhere. By this time, the Sikh Panth had long been established. The 9 Gurus had already sown the seeds of seva, devotion, and simran. And it was under these circumstances that in 1699, Guru Gobind Singh Ji created the Khalsa, or the community of pure saint soldiers. The idea was to establish a strong, fearless community that would be prepared to face the challenges ahead in a fair and even-handed way, and to rise to help the weak and the downtrodden. The result would be the birth of the Akal Purakh Ki Fauj, a community of strong-spirited, righteous, and proud individuals devoted to the fundamental premise of Pehla Maran Kabool. The greatest fear of all is the fear of death, and it was this fear that Guru Gobind Singh wanted to eliminate in his Sikhs. Thus, on April 13, 1699, Guru Sahib addressed a congregation of hundreds of thousands of Sikhs from all over India at Anandpur Sahib and demanded the ultimate sacrifice, a head. Sadh Sangat Ji, I urge you to take a moment and envision yourselves sitting in that very tent that day. Can any of us even remotely conceive of what Daya Singh Ji might have been thinking as he made his way behind the tent? When Guruji returned to the congregation with a sword dripping with blood, when immediate death became certain, and Guru Sahib asked for another head, Bhai Dharam Singh Ji still got up. In his mind, he had no other thought but to sacrifice his life for his Guru. I find this remarkable. By instituting the Khalsa, not only did Guru Sahib raise the morale of the Sikhs, but also abolish the distinction between Guru and disciple. He himself asked for Amrit from the Panch Pyaras and thus removed all hierarchy and inequality. Never before in the history of mankind had such an event ever been witnessed. The dramatic spectacle that was unfolding at the moment would be unparalleled. Wakwa Gobind Singh Ape Gurchela. I believe that the values that Guru Gobind Singh Ji tried to instill in us are as every bit relevant today as they were in 1699. After all, how different is the world that we live in today? There is still turmoil, bigotry, hatred, terrorism, unrest, discrimination, and oppression. Throughout the years, we have witnessed our Sikh brothers and sisters valiantly display these values and provide similar sacrifices, not for themselves, but for the idea of Sarbatta Bhala, or universal good. It was these very qualities that drove the president of the Oak Creek Gurdwara, Satwant Singh Kaleka, to disregard his own life in the effort to protect the other members of the Gurdwara when he used his kirpan to attack the gunman Wade Page. The ability to see beyond oneself, to fight for a greater cause, and to stand firm in the face of death were precisely the values that Guru Sahib tried to instill in us on that Vaisakhi day. But many do not understand that those values of valor and fearlessness are inherently tied to the Sikh identity. Unshorn hair and beard covered by a turban is how a Sikh is recognized in the world. That is how he is spotted in a crowd and is therefore unable to hide, deny his Guru's teachings, or shirk his responsibilities. It is this identity that has elevated the Sikh psyche. It is this identity that has changed the course of Indian and world history. It is this identity that offered hope to the downtrodden, divided, and caste-ridden society of India. It is this identity that for 300 years was feared by the corrupt and divisive socio-political system in India. And unfortunately, it is this identity, Satsangat ji, that is now under threat, not only here in the United States, but in the very birthplace of Sikhi. Today, half of India's Sikh men forgo the turban, compared to just 10% decades earlier. We have reached a critical time, a time when if we as a community don't strive to protect this identity, we will have lost the very essence of our being. Vaisakhi should be a time to reflect and introspect on where we are and where we are headed. Today, as we celebrate Vaisakhi, we must remind ourselves of the high moral character that Khalsa represents and the truthful way of living that it embodies. Guru Gobind Singh sacrificed everything to give us this identity. Let us value what we have inherited. Let us cherish our identity, and may Vaheguru give us the strength and the wisdom to truly inculcate these values into our daily lives. Jab lag Khalsa rahe nyara, tab lag tej deo mein sara. Jab e gaye bipran ki reet, मैं ना करो इनकी प्रतीत। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा।